I'm Jessica Chobot, and if anyone spoils Star Wars for me before tomorrow, I will slice them open and sleep inside them like a tauntaun. And this is Nerdist News. You guys. It's Star Wars Eve for those of us lucky enough to buy our first night tickets before they all sold out, and the reviews are pouring in, and my God, they're actually really, really positive. We're going to talk about the critical word on The Force Awakens today, but before we get into it, know this. We're going to keep everything vague as hell. I don't want to know anything about this movie. The crew doesn't want to know anything about the movie.
Right.
So know this, there will be no spoilers on today's show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyway, let's get down to it. What are people saying about The Force Awakens? Well, the first thing to note is that almost every critic has chimed in to quell your greatest fear. Star Wars Episode 7 is better than all 3 prequels. Oh my God, right? I mean, just judging from the trailer alone, I felt positive in that. But can the movie live up to the OT? Sounds like a no, as most critics who've ranked it place it just below Return of the Jedi. But considering how amazing the original saga is, Ewoks and all, that is totally okay by us. Now, something almost every critic has mentioned is that, for better or worse, the film harkens back to the past while looking towards the future. Our own Kyle Anderson noted that this movie addressed the older films and built on them in order to create its own thing. Kyle also said that his ear-to-ear grin for most of the running time spoke volumes, while Time Out called it a feast of nostalgic blockbustering, whatever the that means. However, that isn't always a good thing. In their review, the AV Club noted the deja vu factor begins to feel as much like a drawback as a benefit. Likewise, Screen Crush observed that although Star Wars has always been about the past, The Force Awakens is ironically at its best when it looks to the future. So let's take a look at what critics are citing as the film's negative aspects first and get those out of the way. Apparently, while J.J. Abrams has made a Star Wars film that really feels like a Star Wars film, it also falls into a lot of the classic storytelling issues that plague J.J.'s work. The story is supposedly a little weak and vague, with some of your questions actually answered and others left for future films to address. Birth Movies Death's Devin Faraci, got it right, noted on Twitter that he felt like he knew almost exactly as much about the First Order after seeing the movie as before I saw it. Critics are also saying that while a lot of the interpersonal action, like lightsaber duels, are some of the best in the whole series, some of the bigger CG set pieces feel a little cold. Thankfully, that's the only prequel trilogy issue this new movie seems to have. Now, this next point may be a positive or a negative, depending on what you want out of the movie. References to the original trilogy are apparently out of control, with scenes, lines, characters, action sequences, and more apparently copied, noted, joked about, or otherwise present in a way that can sometimes be distracting from what's new in the sequel trilogy. Birth Movies Death put it best in their review when speaking about a particular recycled situation. They wondered how a universe of infinite possibilities had brought us to this scenario yet again. But in the end, it sounds like Abrams and his team have completely knocked it out of the park with their new cast. In addition to heaps of praise for Oscar Isaac, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, and Adam Driver's performances, we've heard that the characters themselves are some of the most complex, fun, and exciting in the saga's history. It sounds like the new stuff is the best stuff, which bodes very, very, very well for the rest of this trilogy, especially Episode 8, which can now launch directly into its own story without having to catch us up on 30 years of history for its characters. And just happens to have the amazing Rian Johnson of Brick, Looper, and that amazing episode of Breaking Bad fame writing and directing. And that's about all we can tell you without getting into spoilers, but trust that we'll be here later this week to break down every single bit of minutia in the film after we've all had the chance to see it. But until then, what do you guys think? Are these reviews about what you expected? Were you hoping for an original trilogy smashing best picture front-running masterpiece? What would it take for this to be the best Star Wars film you'd ever seen? Let's discuss. And please, no spoilers!
Thank you.
Yes. Dan, you've seen the movie.
I have.
I haven't.
Here's what happens.
No! Let's talk about what's going on the Dan Cave instead.
All right, if you insist. Today in the
do.
Dan Cave, we're talking about a very cool piece of Star Wars history, going all the way back to the original Star Wars. So, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg made a little bet on this movie, and Spielberg won $40 million without lifting a finger. So find out exactly what went down on the Dan Cave.
That kills me!
Yeah, right?
That kills me. All right, so aside from that, have you assembled your Go 90 crew yet?
I know I've seen a lot of Go 90 crews, stuff like that. I'm checking out the app, but I don't exactly know what they are. Can you tell me? Can you educate me?
I can.
Please.
I can because it's super easy. Let me just bust out my rose gold iPhone here.
Ooh.
Super cool. Anyone can do it. Crews are groups of people who want to band together to discuss a show, an episode, a person, or an event on Go90. Here's how you set one up. Go to anything. Say maybe our world famous Bat Blood video.
Taylor Swift meets Batman.
It's actually legitimately good.
It's fantastic.
It is really good. Under the info tab, just click start a crew. From there, you can customize your crew and get the conversation started. So are you gonna go do it, Dan?
Yeah, I am. I love hanging out with people. I love crews, whether it's digitally or in person. And, I actually saw there, Nerdist News has like 218,000 followers, 34 crews following us. And I saw one for Nerdist News in there, so I'm gonna join you guys. I want to be part of what you're talking about. So yeah, awesome. I'll see you there.
Sick.
Sick.